Hello, my name is Carina, and in this podcast, Break Fear, Find Freedom, I have conversations with people just like you who have broken their fear and found their freedom, whatever that may be. And shows you how to do the same. So sit back, relax, grab your coffee or your running shoes, whatever makes you happy, and let the fun begin. Oh, by the way, come take my hand and let's go. The door's opening now.
Hello, Ravi. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you too.
That's lovely.
How are you today?
I'm doing very good. Very good.
Hello, everybody. And today I've got a really very special guest, Ravi Sahay. Now, Ravi Sahay's got a very interesting story, and we are going to talk a lot about fear and how it affects our lives and mostly our health and lifestyle. Hello, Ravi. How are you today?
I'm very well, Carina. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be with you and your audience, and you care about your audience, and I do too. That's why I'm here. I want to share my story, and hopefully it will motivate people to get around fear. Because when a doctor says that you have a congestive heart failure, and that was at the age of 50, now that was 23 years ago, you start to look at the mortality and the fear of death, as you know, is probably the highest. Next is fear of speaking.
Yes.
And we are trying to handle both here. But it is always very interesting to look inside when you are trying to get all this information from outside, like a diagnosis of an incurable disease, like congestive heart failure, which before that I had heart attack.
Oh, yes.
And you start to look at the statistics, and the statistics at that time were like, oh, look, only in 5 years, 50% of the people die, that kind of statistic. But now it is changing. Breaking fear is true in all areas. And mortality, as I talked about, is probably the highest. About myself, I came as an immigrant from India in 1971 at the age of 26 years old. I was trained as an electrical engineer. I did a master's in computer science here. Nice. From City College. I did MBA from University of Rochester. I worked for Fortune Corporation. And midlife, my health started to give up. And I found that the answer was basically within me to change my lifestyle and find doctors who would basically coach me rather than just give a diagnosis and prognosis.
Yes.
And that's changed my life. And then I have written books on it, basically to share what is possible.
That's exciting. So do you think that your congestive heart disease, if you go into a lot of the spiritual stuff, they say, the heart is the center of love. And if you have a lot of heartache, I'm simplifying it, right? You have the heart attack. What would you say was the cause of your heart attack? Was it based in fear? Or I know that's going quite deep into your personal life. So just broadly.
You have touched on a very, very important topic, which medical science is just uncovering it. So about the heart, the conventional medicine had the idea that heart is a pump. It's a mechanical device It pumps blood to all corners, and then it gets constricted, and then there could be blockages, and then you do a stent or have bypass and
Yes.
cure it. And if you have high blood pressure and your heart is pumping too hard, maybe you will get a congestive heart failure.
Yes.
So that was the mechanical paradigm. But we know from ages that heart and the philosophers and romanticists and all have talked about, and we feel emotions, we feel love, and we feel fear, both in our heart,
Yes.
not in mind. First, it comes in the heart.
Mm.
So the emotional heart is much bigger than this mechanical paradigm. In fact, it has neurons, it thinks, it communicates with the brain, and these are the new findings that are happening. So far, pinning the cause of my disease, I would say it is lifestyle. And lifestyle is both, what I eat and what I think.
Yes.
And actually, it was a combination of both those two that caused inflammation in the body, and the body was not balanced. So not only heart disease, but other diseases were happening too, including hypertension or gout or eczema or hemorrhoids. So my point is, it's about lifestyle, which is both physical exercise as well as mental and spiritual.
Yes, I like that. I noticed that you mentioned a holistic approach. You mentioned the mental, the physical, and the dental as well, which is very interesting because many people don't take that into account. And we know that dental causes a whole lot of, it's close to your brain and heart. And so if you don't take care of your teeth and you don't care of your gums, it's possible that it does affect your body as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. And this is, again, more cutting-edge revelations that gum disease causes heart disease is now established in all these literary, and many cardiologists will say that the oral health is very, very important. In my case, yes, it was, because I broke my teeth when I was 10 or 11 years old doing biking, and fell from the bicycle in India, and I didn't take care of it. People there were not that kind of conscious about dental hygiene, and later I had developed, black teeth and abscess, and root canal was done, and it was not successful, so it was still an abscess. So when my heart attack happened, actually I had a gum which was hurting. And at the same time, I was also stressed. So I say that it is combination, but dental part is very important. You see, the conventional medicine separates everything. So dentists are separate from, the MDs, and the training is different, and Medicare only covers non-dental, and et cetera, et cetera. So we have fragmented it so much. And same thing is true with the counseling. Counseling was not covered, and it is different. But the fact is that our emotional health, if it is imbalanced, and if our dental hygiene is not there, both will cause the same kind of inflammation, which may create heart disease.
That's very interesting. So what would you say? So you'd say would fear? How would fear influence this? Besides lifestyle and not taking care of your teeth and bad eating habits and all that, would fear be obviously a factor in this too, right?
Oh, absolutely. So let us look at fear, and fear and anxiety creates stress. And when we are stressed, then it is established that the body creates hormones, which is cortisol and all these other chemicals, and they are inflammatory. They inflame our organs. They also can increase our blood pressure. So fear as an emotion is there are many layers of it, but the point is that we have to be in touch with our emotions, and we have to take care of it. And as we have this fast life, which has become faster and faster, and there are a lot of distractions, we don't pay attention to our body. Like, how are we breathing? When our breathing becomes shallow, that is a sign that it is going to create a stress. The blood pressure will go up because the system is saying, I'm not getting enough blood. So how do we become aware that we are afraid, that we are stressed? And the answer looks like in many ways is very simple, is that we have to soothe our body. We have to say, yes, I am here. Let us breathe, gradually. Let us watch our breath. So these are ancient science, and yet we have forgotten about it.
So let's just thank you. I'm just thinking again about, so what was your lifestyle like before you had your heart attack and your nearly congestive heart failure to now? What is the difference?
Well, there are big differences, and actually age itself, changes many things, including thinking, and I'm retired. I'm not working for a living. My children are, they're on their own thing. I have 4 grandchildren. So a lot of, as you can see, just the time itself changes a lot of things. But coming back to that, when my heart attack happened, I was 45 years old. I was very busy with my corporate aspirations. I was married. We had challenges, of course, raising children and, having a marriage with double career and all that. But most importantly, I didn't have the guidance about food because America lost its bearing about food in the 60s or late 50s. And how did it happen? It came like a perfect storm, because when Second World War was over, the civilians, etc., the baby boomers are happening. So suburbia happened. In other words, people moved from farms to the town, suburbia. Yes. But in the process, they lost the culture. They lost food culture. For instance, fermented food, as we'll talk about microbiome, is very, very important. What happened is, before in the farm, you'll have different milk products. We have cheese, you have sauerkraut. People would do different kind of, pickles, different cultures have different thing, of course, but America itself had these different cottage cheese and fermented products. So what happened is, instead of slow food, we moved on to fast food. And how did that happen? The franchise came, and McDonald's started to do things from Maine to Hawaii, and the food should taste the same. So they set up a headquarters in Chicago. And what do they do? They sell processed food. Yes. And processed food is not healthy. And my point is, I'm not just talking about McDonald's. Our lifestyle, we're totally ignorant about how food is medicine. And that has created a lot of problems for us for health. On top of that, the automobile came and television, and we didn't exercise. We didn't walk. so it was a perfect storm. On top of that, the medical doctors were not trained on nutrition. So they were asleep on their wheels. They didn't know the difference between yogurt and milk.
Yes.
For them, it was a dairy product. And that is all very colossal mistake that happened, that we have 2/3 of America that is obese or overweight today.
Yes.
2/3 of America. That was not the case when I came 50 years ago. It all happened in this period.
Yes. So how can we change that? I mean, I know it's a whole education. Everyone needs to learn and change a whole mindset, but we can start that slowly. And what's a better lifestyle? What's better food to eat besides the fresh food and the fermented food?
Yes. Okay. So first thing I would say, we don't have dinner table conversations these days, right? Because everybody is still, doing their own thing, and families are here and there. But if we need a national conversation on food and the recent discovery of microbiome,
yes,
everybody should be aware what microbiome is, why a diverse microbiome is required to be healthy, how when you are anxious, when you are fearful, your microbiomes also are fearful. They get compromised. There is a gut-brain axis. Okay. So the point is, we have to get educated to say these microbiomes are the one that are keeping us healthy. There are trillions of them. They are our pets. We have to take care of them. Yes, America has now, we have a lot of dogs and cats we take care of. But now we have to take care of our microbiome pets. That is what we have to do. And then we have to find out what do they eat when they are balanced and healthy. In fact, they create the cravings. The sugar cravings come because our microbiomes are imbalanced. Okay. So prebiotic as a term is a very new term. Prebiotic.
Yes.
That came after microbiome discovery.
Okay.
Probiotics we used to know. And why did we know about probiotics? Because antibiotics, which is penicillin, was the discovery. We knew that destroys the flora. So probiotics term was what came. But we didn't know about microbiome. Prebiotics is basically fresh, mostly plant-based food that have fiber in it. And that is the food that microbiome likes. Okay. So what are good prebiotics? Actually, all cruciferous vegetables, all plant-based vegetables, they are abundant in this fiber. And so your question, Carina, is a good one. We talk about nation building in Afghanistan. Frankly, we have a task here. How do we build this nation? And how do we make this nation healthy?
Yes.
And the unfortunate part is that the conventional medicine and pharmaceuticals and even food industry, they have just taken us in the wrong way in all this time. That is very, very unfortunate. And the public health in this country is very weak. We have found that people who have good immunity survive COVID better.
Yes.
That is a fact.
Yes.
So we have to really build our fortress, our own body defenses, and we are in charge of that.
Yes. I like that, taking responsibility. I'd just like to go back a minute and can you explain what the microbiome is exactly and how it's different to, because people talk about bugs and viruses and all these kind of things. How does it interact with the microbiome?
Sure. That's again a great question. microbiome in simple terms is about 4 pounds, more than 2 kilograms of basically organism that is inside our body.
Mm-hmm.
And that was not discovered until 2007.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In fact, one MD, I won't name him, he said, medical schools should refund my money because they didn't teach me this missing organ. And this missing organ is very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it is the one that produces all these chemicals and all the defenses. It is actually building our so-called immune system.
Mm-hmm.
And it is all over our body. 70% and trillions of cells, which is bacteria, fungi, protozoa, etc. The point is, it is all in our body. What is very interesting is when a child is born, in the embryo, it is a sterile environment. But when the child comes to the birth canal, that is when it gets coated with the microbiome. And when the child gets the breast milk, and in the first 3-4 years, the child builds its microbiome.
Yes.
Okay. Now that is Mother Nature. That is how it is. But we didn't know about it. Now, when I say we didn't know about it, I would say the ancient people knew about it. For instance, Ayurveda, which is this holistic science of India, it used to say your 90% of your diseases start in the gut. That is Ayurvedic principle.
Yes.
Why? Now we are finding that 70% of microbiome resides in the gut, of these trillions that we are talking about. And they also talk to the brain, gut-brain axis. And 10 to 15% is in our oral microbiome, cavity.
Okay.
And we talked about that.
Yes. Yes.
And skin being the largest organ, has another 10%. So you can see that majority of it is in this canal and the oral and the skin. And they are factory workers. They are keeping us healthy. They know when a virus has attacked and what to do about it. They know if we are thinking depressed, what are the defenses left to them. But they are vibrant, they are healthy, and we have to keep them healthy because they are our pets.
Okay, so how do you keep them healthy? How do you keep your pets healthy? I mean, if you've got a dog or a cat, you love the cat, you give it food, you take it for a walk, or whatever you do, you brush it. So what do you do to keep your microbiome healthy? And if they're your pets?
Yes, and they are a very good question. And the answer would be same that we do with a cat or a dog. We feed, good food, we take them to walk, we cuddle them. The point is, nature, we are highest expression of nature, and we have gotten away from nature. So the food to eat, coming back, is plant-based mostly and fresh.
Yes.
Fresh is very, very important. Because now we are finding out that phytonutrients is this thing which is only available when the plant is fresh. When it exponentially decays, in 3 days, you lose 70% of it.
Wow.
And what do you see? In the grocery stores, the food you get is already 3 days old. So to answer your question, it's better to have a small vegetable garden,
Yes.
The point is you eat fresh, okay? You eat plant-based, you eat whole grain. And whole grain means everything. And that also gives you that prebiotic. It gives you the fiber.
Yes.
Right? So then about sun rays, sunbathing. it's important because we are very vitamin D deficient now. All right. Now, simple thing about taking care of our body, especially where these microbiomes are. And that is basically our hygiene. So the first thing is the regular bowel movement.
Yes.
Regular bowel movement, number one. Number two is to take care of this oral cavity with this Ayurvedic approach, which is called dinacharya, daily routine. You do nasal irrigation, you do oiling, you do oil pulling, and you do eye wash. So these are all prescribed in the Ayurvedic manual, and that is also in my book. So to answer your question, you take care of your body, keeping in mind that those microbiomes are there. That is your responsibility. Now we go further. Not only that, so we have to clean it, we have to feed it with the right food, we have to think correctly. That means, whether you call it mindfulness or meditation, okay, we have to walk, we have to do movement, we have to stretch, so these are the things that we are doing it for our pet too. We are helping our pet. So basically we have to become more aware of what a fantastic machine we have.
So what would a day look like then for you? What would you do like during the day? Because how would you, what time do you wake up early? Do you meditate? What do you do to look after your pet on a daily basis?
Yes. And again, that will depend as we age, because now I am retired. So, I'm not tied to the work routine. So my routine will be different now than when I was, let us say, 40 years old or things like that.
Of course.
But there's certain things that are still very common. Okay. What is still very common is we have to take care of the body. So the bowel movement, the cleaning, the hygiene, the flossing and tongue cleaning and all that, we have to do that right when we get toilet trained. In other words, the point is we have to take care of our hygiene. And Ayurveda knew about it so well. I am just amazed. And I say that's how they knew about microbiome. Okay. So that part, it takes 1 hour. No matter what age one is, one must do that.
Yes.
All right. So the next question comes is about food. And again, about food, if people are traveling and they don't have, the flexibility, I cook my own meals, but people won't have that luxury, right? And especially in COVID times, many people have to do that. But you have to be very, very aware of what you need. So you need more plant-based. So if I am, let us say, traveling, I would make sure that my lunch always has a salad. Okay.
Yes.
So the point is, depending on what situation you are in, yes, you are going to dance with it, but you have to be aware of the basics. The basics are good prebiotic, good probiotic, fresh food, and exercise. And the exercise, I don't believe it has to be gym. It has to be more walking, more sunbathing, and also if we could biking, I do a little bit of rope skipping, you can have a little trampoline. The point is variety is good, and you don't need a lot. The point is if you do half an hour of exercise, that is good. And the other thing will be keeping the mind at rest when it is not needed.
Okay. Yes.
And that is a mindfulness training that people need to have. And we have to become more heart-centered, especially as men, we are more into our mind. But heart is where, as we talked earlier, heart is where the intelligence is. Heart is where the intuition is. So the better decision can come when heart is also collaborating with the mind. And what is the connection? The connection is to watch the breath. So even if we are, not while we are driving, but the point is when we have some time, we can basically reside in our breath. And that is very, very soothing. It reduces the blood pressure. It calms our nerves. So it's common sense. You see, the thing is, when we are living in the farm, our ancestors, our grandmothers, and those they knew, they reminded us. Yes. We have gone astray, and we have now climate crisis, which can be also solved by these lifestyle changes.
So obviously, if your body, according to Ayurveda, if your body's out of sync, that's when you start getting diseases, right? And then you have to just eat and exercise, and you can get it back. Well, that's a simplified version. I just wanted to ask you, people say sun is bad for you. You must put all the sunscreen on because you're going to get cancer and all that. I'd like to know, obviously, what are your thoughts about that? I mean, I have mine, but what are your thoughts? Because you have to get vitamin D, right? And to buy it off the counter doesn't make sense to me because of all the additives and all the stuff that they put in it. So how would you answer that kind of question?
Yes. Yeah, you have a couple of questions there. So I'll try to do that. So first, Ayurveda, Ayu means longevity. Veda means science. So it's the science of longevity. It is not a science of curing disease. Okay. So keep that in mind. So and again, Ayurveda came, in the Mid-Eastern country in India, which is sunny. The people are brown. We are finding that the brown pigment, they need more sun and all that. Whereas people who have white skin, and because of the climate, they need less sun. So we have to we have to understand our body and sun rays, again, how much to take, how much to train. It is better to do it early in the morning when the sun rays are softer. That means, we need to wake up early, which we don't. So the point is, yes, anything in excess is not good. So moderation is required. But we even for people, because of the way we work with computers and indoors, we don't get fresh air, we don't get fresh sunshine, even in cooler climate. So we have to be aware of that, and we have to modify that, right? The other part you mentioned about the balance, and that is the key. What microbiome research is finding is people who live in tribal areas, their primitive, you can call it whatsoever word, their lifestyle, their microbiome is more diverse and more balanced. And they don't get diseases like heart disease, diabetes, and cancer. We call them non-communicable diseases.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
In fact, I would say, take any chronic disease. You just say microbiome and that chronic disease.
Yes.
Diabetes.
Yes.
Microbiome heart disease. Microbiome cancer.
Yes.
The number of papers that you will get from the research in last 10 years is just outstanding.
Wow.
It's amazing. What they are saying and all that is there is a microbiome imbalance. There is a microbiome deficiency. Obesity is a good example. You just say microbiome and obesity, and it is just staring at our face that microbiome is totally imbalanced. But we cannot blame obese people because it is a systemic problem. we created the perfect storm. And we all got caught into it. 2/3 of America is overweight or obese. I mean, that is, So coming back to, yes, the microbiome has to be balanced. Now, what is a balanced microbiome? It's also a balanced human being. A human being who is not afraid, kind of, some caution is good.
Yes.
But a human being who is vibrant, who is compassionate, who is helping, who is, self-caring, that is what microbiome is telling us. And that's Mother Nature.
Yes. I love that. That makes so much sense. It's like we always look for complicated things when it's really simple and it's just staring at us in the face. But how do we listen and hear? How do we know when our body's talking to us and it's our body talking to us and not our mind telling us something, or our fear? Or how can we tell the difference?
Yeah. It's, as you know, these are complicated because the emotions and cognition, they got all mixed up. They get mixed up.
Yes, yes.
And when we are able to separate it, they call it, a person is a saint, or, he knows how to discriminate. And in Indian mythology, it is like being a lotus that you can grow from a mud and become a beautiful flower. So there's all these metaphors for it.
Yes,
So it's not an easy thing, but it is doable. And one of the requirement is calmness.
Okay. Yes.
Calmness is a requirement. And how do we become calm? I mean, that is by becoming aware. So we become aware that, something has triggered me. And the sooner you are able to then, kind of maneuver it. And it is a skill. It is just a skill of life, and we don't, children have it, then they lose it, and then we have to get it again, that kind of thing, So, of course, there's a place for knowledge, which we are trying to do over here. There is a lot of, now we are in an age that you can get knowledge at your fingertips, whatsoever it is. But it is more than that. It is about intention. And then from intention, it is about action. And then it is not like, we have to constantly get, feedback and we maneuver ourselves. But let us say, to your point about, the body is saying that, there's a skin eruption, right?
Yes,
Body is saying. Okay.
Yes, yes.
And see, an acne for a teenager, it's a big problem, but even there, if the society was such that said that, look, this is a natural way, you take care of yourself, it will go away, these are the natural ways to do it. But we did not. And it is very, very unfortunate, because I know of my loved ones, when they went to the doctor, and before the doctor that she had was a pediatrician. But what does he do? He gives a lot of antibiotics for acne. That is 15, 20 years ago. Then it didn't, acne still was there. Then the doctor refers to a dermatologist.
Yes.
Dermatologist gives more antibiotics. Still it didn't work. Then the doctor says, very smooth IV trained doctor, great institution, says, no, I have this drug which will cure it, but I need your disclaimer and all that kind of thing.
Yes.
And that drug has been now basically withdrawn. That's called Accutane.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. The point is, just the amount of antibiotics that is given,
Mm.
that creates other diseases, including Crohn's.
Yes.
And Accutane also does. Okay.
Mm.
We were totally mindless. We were totally reckless about it. And this is where I say that our system is totally kind of broken.
Mm. Mm.
That we don't have, even though it is 2007 to 14 years of microbiome.
Yes, yes.
How many doctors are talking about it?
Yeah. That's true. They're still continuing with the same things they did. So, the drugs and the antibiotics and
they have a lot of adverse effect on microbiome. That research is also there. See, but who is going to talk about it? You and me, and that is my point. That our public health system is so weak, so out of place, and we are becoming obese.
Yes, and also. And what about mental illness? You see mental illness is also becoming very prevalent. Okay, the basic stuff like brain fog. But what about people that are manifesting like with schizophrenia and all that kind of stuff? How is the microbiome also in some way has an effect of that? But I mean, I know that a lot of times that's triggered with drugs and whatever, but how would you cure that using food and balancing the microbiome? And can you do it? Well, not cure it. Maybe cure is not the right word, but can you do that? Can you reverse it? That's what I meant.
Well, okay. Well, first, I'm not a doctor, so I have to
No, of course. It's all a disclaimer. You're not a doctor, yes. We're not a doctor. We're just discussing, yes.
But you have a very interesting point. First, in this country, mind was also separate. Not only dental was separate, even mind was separate than body. Because you look at our insurance reimbursements, that is a good example.
Yes.
Dental was not covered, because, it's a separate compartment. And mental was not covered either, because that is a separate compartment.
Yes.
So that is the fragmentary conventional medicine. That is how conventional medicine looks at it. But microbiome and nature doesn't look that way. Microbiome says food can create mood. And the vice versa. If one is depressed, the microbiome can get also compromised. But the mental health part is again a cultural part that we have lost. We are so isolated as human beings that we don't learn from our humanity.
Yes.
It is it's affluence, but we have distanced ourselves. We have put compartments. Okay, so I'm going to come to a very important subject, and it has been an age-old problem, but it is showing up now, and it has bearing on psychiatry and mental health. And COVID has brought it to front also, because in COVID, because of isolation, we have mental health problems that have increased.
Yes.
Okay. So what is that problem that we are talking about, which is now getting attention? It's called trauma.
Yes.
Now, trauma has been there for ages. As a human being, we have become more civilized. We don't beat people as much, and we take them to court, etc., etc. But the thing is that the trauma can reside in our body.
Yes.
And the great book that has been written by this Dutch scientist, Van der Walk, something like that. He's a Harvard professor. The body keeps the score.
Oh, yes.
So what that says is that a trauma can reside in the body.
Yes.
Not all trauma resides, but the trauma can reside in the body, and then it can create other chronic diseases. In fact, the similar studies has been, rather not similar, a very milestone, remarkable study, a longitudinal study was done called ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences Study. That was done by Kaiser and CDC. That was done in late 1990s. The study basically is about mental health and chronic diseases. And Ayurveda didn't have that separation of mind and body. In fact, Deepak Chopra, who was one of the person as an MD who was instrumental in bringing mind into the conventional medicine, is because of Ayurveda. Because Ayurveda always said that body and mind are integrated. And microbiome is saying the same thing. It is saying this gut-brain axis, that gut talks to the brain more than brain talks to the gut. We talk about this gut feeling, etc.
Yes.
Those are all very, very real. So yes, the way we take care of ourselves, lifestyle, and by the way, mindfulness and watching our breath and becoming more heart-oriented and being community-minded, they are all healthy for us. They are very, very selfish acts. But we have gone this perfect storm in all these different directions. And now we are saying, what do? We are lost. And there's hope. Definitely there is hope. Like for me, I am cured. I didn't think that I'll live up to 73 when I had congestive heart failure.
Yes. So we got a bit sidetracked. Now that's what I wanted to see. Just the comparison of your lifestyle before with the stresses and whatever at that time compared to after you had so you made this total change, right? In your lifestyle, in your relationships, in everything, right?
Yes. So again, I don't want to sound like it has to be an abrupt thing. No, It doesn't have to be an abrupt, not at all. But awareness has to come in. And in my book, I talk about it's like a manual. This book, is May You Be Healthy. I wrote it like a manual, but I say, hey, you take only 3 or 4 things at a time. And you make it a habit, So it is not like you have to just, change the whole thing. Okay. But what is very, very important is you have a support system to go in that direction. I had a support system through my cardiologist. Her name is Dr. Mimi Guarneri, and she practices in La Jolla. She founded integrative medicine at Scripps Clinic. So she became my cardiologist, and you need somebody like that to steer you through this. Otherwise, you'll get lost. After one has been given a chronic disease diagnosis. But it applies to everybody. Those people who have not been given any diagnosis, they are very, very, fortunate, but still they have to apply prevention. Prevention is, golden.
Yes. So how, if someone wants to start changing their lives, because, with this fast food, everyone's fast and everyone's really, people don't really cook anymore, right? For example, where would they start? Where would someone start to start changing their lives, changing their lifestyle so that they can become healthy and have, a good immune system? Where would they start?
As I would say, the first thing is, of course, you'll start with the knowledge of microbiome in common sense terms. What is it? Why is it your pet? Why are you responsible for taking care of it? That intention has to come, number one. Okay, that's number one.
Yes.
Number 2 is daily hygiene. Daily detoxification. That part that you have to find time, how much I can do it in the morning, how much I can do it in the evening.
Yes.
That part is, again, 100% personal responsibility.
Yes.
All right. After that comes breakfast or food, etc. I would say, again, if the intention is that I'm going to go more plant-based, wherever one is, one cannot go wrong. It's a moving that thing gradually, intention. Yes. Okay. We didn't talk about fasting, but intermittent fasting is a word that has come up. Again, Ayurveda knew about it and practiced it. My mother practiced fasting. So in so many rituals, etc.
Yes.
But intermittent fasting is basically giving a gap between your last meal and your first meal next day.
Okay.
And the gap should be more than 12 hours. Okay. That has been found to be very healthy for your microbiome, for losing weight, for becoming vibrant, etc. So the point is, you just take some of these important ones and you start to say, okay, can I do this for this next 3 months? Can I do this other thing in next 3 months? Yes. And gradually you have a pretty good lifestyle.
Mm. Sure, I love this. I could carry on speaking to you for forever, Ravi. We'll have to have a follow-up on this. Please tell us a bit more about your book, where people can find your book, where people can find you, so they can have a conversation with you.
Sure. Again, as I said, I'm not a doctor, but my intention is to help because I have been helped. I'm blessed in that way. So this book that I wrote, this is my second book, which is May You Be Healthy, Well-Being for Pennies a Day. And it's available in Kindle as well as paperback on Amazon. You can also go to my website, which is basically book-oriented. It is Ravi Sahay, one word, RaviSahay.com. And there I have a contact page, and if you want to write something or ask me, I'll be glad to do that. Before this, I wrote another book, which I didn't market, but it was the start of my journey into alternative medicine. And that book is also available on Amazon. It is called My Health is Your Wealth. Mm. And what I want to quickly say that I am a researcher with a quantitative mind. And due to my internet research, I found a paradigm called Candida. Candida overgrowth. That book is about that. And I was muddling through all this and I was trying to find, so from Candida, I went to Ayurveda. And from Ayurveda, I came to microbiome. So my second book, which is a very, very interesting journey. And I hope, somebody will write a review like that, because conventional medicine basically has been poo-pooing Candida, and now it has to deal with microbiome. And that's where we are. So coming back, this book is basically the wisdom of Ayurveda and the new research on microbiome and how we can be healthy and steer through all this without spending a lot of money.
I love that. I love that. I just have to go back. I have to go back now. I've got to ask this question. You talk about microbiome and Candida, and I know it's been proved that Candida causes all sorts of things. So does Candida actually affect the microbiome per se, or is that a manifestation of the microbiome saying, hey, there's problems here, or is it?
Well, very good question. The simple answer is, and that's the correct answer, microbiome is very, very complex and very rich, and it is like a cosmos inside our body.
Yes.
If you can look at stars and zillions of universes, we have those trillions over here. Candida is one of that.
Okay.
So when there's a candida overgrowth, there's a microbiome imbalance.
Okay. Yes.
So in a mathematical term, candida is a subset of microbiome.
Okay.
But the thinking was so good and so profound that I have said that the guy who is a doctor, he is no longer, his name is Orion Truss. He was the military doctor in Alabama. He should get Nobel Prize for what he was able to do clinically. All he said about candida is now being said about microbiome.
Wow. Wow, this is we can speak. There's just so much here. Thank you so much, Ravi. And hopefully you need to get this Ravi Sahay's book and go and look after yourselves and start taking care of yourselves. I think taking care of ourselves has always been a bad rap. We've always thought, well, you can't take care of yourself because it's laziness or whatever it is. So that's also a mindset that we've got to realize that, this rushing around is crazy. We need to take care of ourselves. Our body is screaming for that, right?
Absolutely. I would say before I would ask people, how are you? And they will casually say, I am fine. Now I say, how are you taking care of yourself?
I love that.
How are you taking care of yourself?
That is very good. Thank you, Ravi. Before we go, I'd like to ask you, what change do you want to be in the world?
Change, I would say at this point, I want to be help. Sahay in Sanskrit means one who helps. So change is a very active word. I'm going to turn things around, etc. No, I just want to be part of the humanity and, kind of give a helping hand.
Oh, I love that. That's a beautiful way to end this. Thank you so much, Ravi. Thank you, everybody. And we will meet again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Everyone.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. And thank you for listening right to the end. Now, if you want to know more about breaking fear and if it's keeping you stuck, check out the quiz. The details are below. Subscribe so you can hear some more of this delicious conversations. And then watch out for my book, The Clank of Chains, which is coming out very soon. Thank you again for being here, and we will see you next time. Bye.